I haven't done an editorial in a very long time. It's just kind of become one of those things where it's just, a whenever type of thing. I'll try to do more, but it's just whenever I feel like there's something that I really wanted to say. So today I'm going to talk about season 20 of South Park, which had just wrapped up. And in fact, I just recently rewatched a good portion of it on TV because they were marathoning it again. A lot of people are saying that it kind of flopped, or at least the ending is kind of kind of a disappointment. I am in somewhat of an agreement, but not necessarily entirely within agreement. Basically, what happened, if you haven't seen it, South Park not too long ago decided to, instead of doing like standalone episodes, they took the 6 episode streak that they have every once in a while for every season, and they decided to instead do an overarching storyline. Like everything that happens in the first episode will affect the next episode, affect the next episode, etc., etc. Like just a big story arc for each set of, I think, 6 episodes per. I don't really know what to call it. It's like because each season they have like 6 episodes and then they take a big break and then they have another 6 episodes and they take another break and then they end the season off at the end of the year with another 6 episodes. But each one of those they actually put together a storyline, and they've been really good. It's been very interesting watching this because it's a change of form, and I thought it worked out pretty well. Maybe not as well as it could have been, but it was very nice to see them do something different. Which brings us to the recent episodes that they had, which happened during the U.S. election, and it's always interesting when a big event like that happens during a South Park season because, as many people know, South Park episodes are made in 6 days, which is unbelievably impressive. I mean, it's not the most expensive show to make, I guess. I mean, I've heard even like episodes of Family Guy take like a year to make, and of course they overlap with other episodes, but one episode could span upwards of a year, which is actually kind of, I don't know if it's sad or what, but that's a rant for some other time. I have issues with Family Guy, as many people know. But yeah, whenever like an event would happen, they would actually integrate it with the episode. Like they keep up with recent events, which is unheard of for a cartoon. And if you ever watched, I don't know where you could watch it right now, but there's a documentary called 6 Days to Air where they actually go into the South Park office and they show like how an episode is made from start to finish in 6 days, and it's great documentary, by the way. Very inspiring, actually. But when they do an election, when they have a season during an election, and they've had a couple of them, they usually do something interesting. Like when Obama was elected, they did something. Apparently there was not an alternative version of that episode if John McCain had won, apparently. But then they had the other election, and what's funny about the previous election was that you can tell like the parts of the episode that were made already or were planned out already, because it was very easy to cut the president out of certain scenes because he mostly wasn't there. It's very interesting. I think above anything else, I love the method of creating a South Park episode than the actual episodes, and I really do like the show in general. Now, which brings us to the current one. Again, it happened during an election. Happened during a very important election. By the way, this is not a political channel. I don't get into political talk, so anything relating to politics in this video is only to coincide with the episodes of South Park and the point I'm trying to make here. So take the political talk to some other YouTube channel. There's plenty of them out there, so we don't do that here. I've mentioned many times before. Here's the thing about this season of South Park. I feel like they, along with the rest of the country, was banking on Hillary Clinton winning the election. And had Hillary Clinton won the election, I feel like this season would have worked better. Because at the start, at the first bunch of episodes, they felt like they were building up to something big. They were building up to some, a major storyline. Something big was going to happen. There was a lot of plot points. But because Donald Trump won the election, man, I'm glad I was not in that office when that happened, because I've said to friends on Facebook before, no one is more stressed out on election day than the creators of South Park. So I feel like what happened was they had a plan, but the plan got ruined. So they had to salvage whatever they could from what they started with, and I think that's what kind of killed this season. And it's no fault of the creators of South Park. It's just kind of it's just kind of sometimes current events don't work out the way they are they're meant to work out. So and I was really digging this season too. I loved the member berries thing. That was a great idea. But because they've had to salvage a lot of plot points felt like they went nowhere. Like there was the whole thing about Bill Clinton and Bill Cosby doing something together. That felt like it was just like nothing. There was the whole thing with the member berries kind of fizzled out as well. The whole thing with because what they were building up to is I think they were trying to make the member berries like take over the world or something like that, and then like if Hillary had won, maybe there was going to be like a big battle to stop them, and then there would be a lesson to learn. We shouldn't always live in the past. We shouldn't always let the past affect our emotions, affect our decisions, and things like that. Because and they made some very interesting points in the show. Some stuff that I really never considered. That whole thing about we've reached sort of a cultural stagnation where there's no growth anymore, and all we're doing is just recycling old ideas, and which leads to a lot of reboots. And they used The Force Awakens as kind of an example of this, which is not a bad movie by any means, but they said that all it did was recycle a lot of the same ideas from the original Star Wars trilogy. And I as much as I like the movie, I do kind of agree with that. In fact, when I saw the movie, that's one of the points I made when we vlogged about it. And because of that, people are kind of resting on their laurels right now, and it's causing all kinds of problems for us. And I really liked that, but it kind of went nowhere because Trump had won the election. That means Mr. Garrison, who was the surrogate for Donald Trump in the season, is now the president in South Park. So it seemed to mean that a lot of plot points were just dropped. And that's one of the things that made this season feel very weird, because it was leading up to something. They must have had some kind of plan, but then it just got ruined. And that's really, I think, what hurt this season the most. Geez. I want to peer into the alternate universe where Hillary won the election, and maybe whatever plan South Park had thought up of actually came true. But what are you going to do? And that actually leads me to the other issue with this season. And because of the way things have happened, they kind of ended it somewhat abruptly and somewhat unsatisfyingly. But they tried to salvage it by saying, all of this horrible stuff happened, but life goes on, and et cetera, et cetera. And in fact, I remember reading an article not too long ago. Someone was comparing this season of South Park to a lot of stuff that George Carlin used to say about politics mostly. And yeah, I kind of agree with it. Although, as much as I love George Carlin, he was kind of cynical at times. I don't mean that. In a bad way, but well, I guess there's really no other way to put it. But I love George Carlin, but a lot of the stuff he said kind of went to an extreme that I really don't feel is realistic, and it's because he's a comedian. Obviously, comedians embellish the truth. But I feel like they tried to end it on a high note, even though a lot of things weren't resolved properly, like the whole thing with Kyle's dad being an internet troll, and the whole deconstruction of the internet troll was another really good thing about this season. And again, it's something that kind of went nowhere because Kyle's dad was an internet troll, and they kept establishing internet trolls as just sad, lonely, bitter people that have nothing better to do than to mess around with people on the internet. And they kind of established Kyle's dad as an internet troll, but nothing is really wrong in his life. He's just, he's happy. He's got a family. He's got a job, which I think is a very important thing because stereotyping internet trolls is kind of a bad thing because, let's face it, they can just be anybody. And the thing was, that didn't go anywhere either. Kyle's dad, nothing was really revealed about Kyle's dad, at least to his family, or at least any real reason why he was acting the way he was. But until he met the other internet trolls, and he he didn't befriend him, but the troll tried to befriend Kyle's dad, and he kind of opened up to him. And he said, he said things like, made fun of my whole life, and stuff like that. And it kind of established some reasons as to why people would do that. And it was great. It was very brilliant. It was very deconstructive. Unfortunately, that could have led somewhere, but it didn't. Again, just like a lot of things, it just kind of fizzled out. So I really believe that's what it all comes down to. Things not really working out the way that they were supposed to, I guess, and just trying to salvage things and just trying to put together, leave off with the idea that life goes on when things go bad. And I guess that is a good thing. It not as satisfying as it could have been. This season may not have been not good, but not satisfying. But I feel like they tried their best to salvage it as much as they could, and it just did not. It didn't really fan out, and the problem is the last episode of the season is titled "The End of Serialization," which might indicate that they're no longer going to do the overarching story seasons, which is a shame because I feel like a lot of this could be salvaged in another season. They could still potentially fix this with future episodes, but perhaps Matt and Trey were like, we really like doing this, but if things aren't going to work out well, then we're not going to put out a good show. It's just more, the show would be more of a reflection of the emotions that are going through people in the real world. And that's not really a good thing because fiction is escapist. It's great that they're satirical and they can still do that great, but I feel like they might want to go back to more comedy instead of doing this. I'm okay with that too, but I still feel like this season could be salvaged with more episodes because they have established a lot of things and they still have a lot of those plot points that didn't go anywhere, so they could resolve those somewhere later on. But I feel like the time that they could have been resolved was this season, so perhaps they feel like they've their time has passed. The ship has sailed, and perhaps it's best to move on. I don't know what their actual plans are, but it's just a shame because what this all comes down to is, and I probably repeated this several times, is this season was not as good as it could have been, and it's to no fault of the creators of South Park. It's mostly recent events that have caused all of the problems, and it's not their fault. They're still going to do their thing regardless, but we're all just kind of left unsatisfied and wondering what could have been, rather than dwelling on what went wrong. So I believe that's really all. That's really all it is. So I don't really know what else I could possibly say about it. But yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see where they want to take the show this time around. So if you saw the recent season of South Park and have anything you'd like to add to this, leave a comment below and let me know what you think. My name is Rob, and have a wonderful day.